So, welcome, friends, to our meditation time. I invite you just to get comfortable. Just really allow yourself to settle physically in. If closing your eyes feels right, then do that. If finding a spot that you can just focus on feels better, then do that. And then allow your body just to really be comfortable. We know that the mind is enough of a distraction. We don't need a restless body to add to it. So just let your body tell you if it needs to adjust, and then you do that. Give yourself that permission. And as we're settling in, each of us in our own space, I invite you just to join me in just a couple of breaths together, just to really unite our collective energy, our collective showing up into this present moment together. So take a slow, deep breath in. And a gentle, full breath out. And a slow breath in. And a full breath out. And as you settle into a pace of breath that feels right, again, allow yourself to adjust. You don't have to match my posture or my breath. You just have to listen to your own. And as you do that, staying in this present moment will feel much more accessible. And then we'll do our part in quieting the mind just little by little. And so our inspiration for today comes from Yoga Sutra 3:10. And I'm not going to really get into the Sanskrit of it, but the main thing for us to understand is it's about habits. Patanjali is talking to us about the kind of habits that we want, that we desire, the kind of habits that we have, and if there's any disconnect between those. And so what I would invite us to do when we think about this idea of habits is just think of a habit that you have, and don't always assume that it's a bad habit. Just what is something in your life that you do pretty consistently, often without even thinking about it. Just pick a habit. Maybe your habit is that the first thing you do when you get out of bed is you brush your teeth. And if that is your habit, just think about, when did you start doing that? How did that become a thing for you? I will tell you that mine is I make my bed every day. And in our house, we have an agreement that the last one out makes the bed. And if I come back into the room and the last one out has not made it, then I just make it. That is just a habit that I have done for decades. I can't remember when it started. I don't really oftentimes even know the why. It is just something that I feel compelled to do. It's part of my ritual. It's part of my day. It's a habit. Maybe some of you bite your fingernails. And if you do that, just think, when did that start? When was that first time that you put that finger in your mouth and you just chewed on that fingernail, and all of a sudden you look up and it's years later and you're still doing it? And so just think to yourself, what are these things that you do in your life, these habits? We could consult all the different experts from all the different walks of life. And some would tell us that it takes 21 days to make a habit. Some would say it's 7. Some would say it's 3 months. But the idea is somewhere we began these things and we did them again and again and again. And at some point, they stuck. Maybe you have a habit that every day you talk to a very important person on the telephone, a parent, a friend, a sibling, a child. And someday you just decided that it would feel really nice to start your day or have a point in your day talking to that person, so you made a call. And something about it must have felt good because you did it the next day and the day after that. And here you are, days, weeks, months, maybe years later, and you're still picking up the phone every day, calling that person. So why do we do habits? Why do we have them? Something about them meets a need. I can tell you for myself, this idea of making my bed every morning without fail, it does fill a need. It's not about control. It's not about any of those labels that a psychologist might put on that behavior. It's a way for my day to feel structured. When my bed is made, the room looks organized, and that gives structure to my day. And if structure is something that's important to you, then maybe that resonates with you. Maybe not. But somewhere I decided that I could facilitate this idea of the structure that I needed by making my bed every morning. And my guess is I liked the way that it made me feel, so I continued to do it. And so that habit of making my bed wasn't really about the bed. It was filling the need of structure. For those of you that bite your nails, it probably had something to do at some point about being nervous or anxious or worried. And by having that nail just to kind of chew on, it filled the need of calming down the nervous energy. It gave you something else to do. It had nothing to do with the fingernail. It had to do with the need that it was providing. And so just whatever habit that you thought of, just pause here for a second and think, is it really about that? Or is there a need or a thing or a desire in my life that it's fulfilling? It's serving a purpose. What is that? So going back to our Yoga Sutra, this chapter 3, verse 10, Patanjali tells us that the habit that we need to try to nurture and cultivate is the habit of steadiness. The habit of steadiness, of having that sense within us of evenness, of not feeling like our emotions are crazy, crazy big or crazy, crazy low, but really feeling this evenness of living in the middle. The steadiness he's also talking about is the steadiness of our practice, the consistency of it, the regular showing up. He's also talking about the steadiness of how we move through our world. When we walk into a room, do people know what to expect from us? Or do they have to kind of test the temperature or test the weather to know what they're going to get? Can they feel the steadiness? Or do they feel something else? And so what Patanjali is saying is the habit that we in this practice really need to cultivate is the habit of steadiness. And so then the question would be, what need is that fulfilling? What purpose is that serving? And it's sort of like when we started tonight and I gave you the option or the permission that if your body gets restless, adjust it. Let yourself reposition so you can find stillness. And what Patanjali is telling us is that when you can cultivate the habit of steadiness, the need that it is providing for you is stillness. We all need it. Our nervous systems crave it. Our emotions are trying so hard to get it. Our relationships need it. Our world needs it. But But we don't just get stillness. We have to cultivate habits to create an environment where it can happen. Just like chewing on your nails creates an environment where maybe your nerves get a little bit less, or making your bed creates an environment where you feel structured and ordered and organized. Steadiness of practice creates an environment where stillness can show up again and again and again. And the best part is when you cultivate it often enough, stillness begins to stay. It becomes this abiding peace that doesn't leave. And so I'd ask you, how much stillness do you have in your life right now? How many moments in your day can you really say, I feel it. I feel it in my cells. I feel it in my tissues. I feel it in my mind. I feel it in my spirit. How often in your day do you experience stillness? And I'll tell you, it has nothing to do with how busy you are or not. It's this beautiful sense of just how you are. But we've got to cultivate some habits to create these optimal conditions where stillness can first arrive and then just be. And so what we'll do for these next couple of minutes is just practice creating a habit of steadiness. We've already shown up. That's one part of it. There's a consistency to our practice. But now let's see if we can cultivate steadiness, first in the body, then in the breath, and then in the mind. And begin through this habit to actually create some pretty optimal conditions for stillness to arrive. And so if you're seated, I would encourage you to sit up a little taller. If you're lying down or kind of leaning against something, just really allow your spine to lengthen. Start to feel the energy of that spine growing longer and longer. And see if you can hold your body still right here. Almost like that chair, that couch, that cushion is holding you in place and you feel steady. And then as the body becomes steady, let's turn our attention to the breath. See if we can find a balanced in and out breath. Not disrupting the body, keeping it steady. But let's breathe in. Let's breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And just let that breath stay steady right here. In and out. The steady body. The steady breath. Turn your attention to your mind. Let's use the affirmation of, I am here now. I am here now. I am here now. I am here now. Let's just pause and notice. Notice what you feel. holding the body steady. Breathing in, breathing out. I am here now. And as you continue to breathe and just be where you are, just notice. Notice if you could feel the stillness. Notice if you could sense it. Notice if you lost it for a second and then it came back. And as we go through the coming days from this practice, just think to yourself, what if you were walking along the sidewalk and you didn't notice that there was a bump in the pavement and you tripped? Would you just stay in this free fall going forward from how you tripped over that spot? And of course, the answer is no. You would either pull yourself back up straight, you'd get both feet on the ground, you'd hold on to the wall or to a railing, you would do something to re-steady yourself. The same thing happens in our spiritual practice. We sit in meditation. We sit and read these spiritual texts that we engage in. We sit in nature. We're on our yoga mat. We do all the things to find steadiness. And then we trip. Metaphorically, physically, realistically, we trip and we lose it. But just like you wouldn't just let the trip happen and then just give up and fall, you'll steady yourself. You'll put 2 feet solidly on the ground before you walk again. You'll hold on to a railing. You'll stand up tall, engage your core, and then you'll continue to walk. So give yourself that grace as you go through the coming days. First, practice the habit of steadiness. Do things on purpose with your body, with your breath, with your mind, to cultivate this habit the same way you started biting your nails and making your bed. Until eventually you look up and you don't even remember when you weren't doing it, because you're constantly practicing steadiness. And then if you trip and life throws a curve, you reposition, you plant those feet, and you try again. Just like any other habit, we've got to practice it until eventually we look up. And not only can we not remember when we weren't practicing steadiness, but we also can't remember a time when we didn't feel stillness every single day. That's why this chapter, where this verse comes from, is called the chapter of impact, the chapter of accomplishments, because he's telling us that stillness, it's possible. We just have to practice. Namaste.